Namaskar Bharat and welcome to a one of a kind yet perhaps the most important webinar live stream, the scholarship negotiations. The reason I say this is because the scholarship can truly make or break your dream. And I've seen this with my own two eyes. If you play your cards right, it might end up being a lot of money that you can save and that can help you enjoy your MBA experience far better because you can invest that money into your global field experience at the end of the first year. You can even use that money to network better and invest in travel expenses. In short, money in your hands is worth more than you'd end up investing in tuition. So don't leave a quarter on the table and be ruthless. And like I always say, get him. Here is the agenda for the day. Before looking at the agenda, let me introduce you to my friend here, the QR code. If you scan this QR code, it will take you to a WhatsApp group, which will serve as a medium for you to ask any questions about your situation. I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. The best part of this is that you can keep helping each other out during the negotiations also. It also eliminates the biggest problem many people have had with the live streams in the past. Their questions are not getting answered. And this is a better long-term investment into your future. As for the agenda, we will get right to it. Like I promised, no BS. First, we are going to look at the metrics the schools say they consider. Obviously, there are always more things to the picture than it seems. Next, the forms of power during the negotiation. Yes, it's true that the business school have the ultimate decision to make to decide how much scholarships they'll be giving you. You still have the power during these discussions. We'll look at how you can go on building some of the forms of leverage in negotiation. Then obviously your essay communication sent to them, because carefully communicating what you really need to say will determine how well you will do. If you scan the QR code, that's good. If not, that's completely fine. And before we move further, the mindset you need to enter the negotiations should be such that you're willing to let go of the admit you have received. Once you're willing to let go of the school, you enter a better state that will help you make an informed decision that is not guided by desperation. Looking at the general metrics, the things that matter are a new GMAT score. But what if you have the 99th percentile already and cannot retake? Next is the promotion at the work. But what if you're a C-suite executive who cannot be promoted for obvious reasons? And lastly, competing offers. But what if you have no other admits? I have worked with all three of the what ifs that we just discussed, and yes, all three got an increase. So why do schools bend the rules? What makes them abandon these objective metrics? Simple. It's a game, and you need to know how to use your power in the negotiations to win this game. That brings me to the next concept, power in negotiations. Understand that there are two forms of power. First, hard power. These are all the things the metrics tell you about: new score, competing offers, promotions, etc. But there are obviously pros and cons for each. If you have new score, for example, you're obviously able to demonstrate your tangible merit. But let's say you have the 98th percentile and you get to the 99th percentile, don't you think that you will also end up being a better fit for another school, a better brand than the one you currently have? And who is to say that the schools won't just give you a marginal increase of $5,000 and say that they increased as agreed upon? That's kind of a loophole in the agreement. That brings me to the other offers, which helps you demonstrate your market value. But think about it. The universities are getting data that can help them reduce the scholarship amount even further by comparing it with the historical data that they have. Looking at who folded into the similar circumstances is not something that they won't do, because they want to make sure that they save more. So that's one of the things that you have lost, because you have no idea how that goes, because there is no way of getting the data other than asking every single person in the school for the past 5 to 10 years to give their scholarship amounts for all the schools, which is unlikely. Does that mean that hard power is nothing? That's not true. All I'm saying is hard power alone may not be the best way to get an increase on your scholarships. The second form of power that I'll be focusing on for the rest of the webinar, in addition to the hard power, is the soft power. You guys know that almost all the rankings known in this industry, acceptance rate or yield is a metric most schools try to protect to show exclusivity. And if you have personal contacts in the region schools operate in, you give schools the reassurance that you will not only be inclined to attend the school, but also protect your employability based on your personal contacts in the industry. You can show how you fit into the schools based on your personal fit into the school. And not to forget, both these things can be considered as the value you bring to the program for the others. Another leverage is having the deposit in your hands that can keep the schools on their toes, because once the deposit is paid, you have desperately sealed the deal. Now, why would a school want to give an increase to someone who will be joining the school regardless? Goodwill looks good on paper, but leverage is what sells. And what brings me and kind of brings me to the how you will build in case you have none. You have to get on call with two important people, the current students, which can include the ambassadors, the club leaders, and others, and the admissions committee members. Why are you getting on calls with them? First, you want to say positive things about you, but you'll not be the one saying it, they will be the one saying it. So you have an idea what your current position is being perceived as. Second, a great way to show your networking skills and showing active interest in the community. Third, ask them what your strengths are, basically, like what they perceive as your strengths are. And you have to be careful here not to come across as indecisive, because you should know your own strengths. Next, show a giving attitude. Ask them how you can start contributing and what their expectations are. And finally, even getting certifications can help you. Knowing which ones the current students have can also help you in this particular case. Once you have built the leverage, it is time to act. And what do I mean by act? The AdCom will already have sent you the portal on which to upload the required documents and the essay. If not, I'm sure they would have let you know the medium of communication. That brings me to the final segment of the negotiation, communication. If you're in this phase of negotiation, you must already know that you have already had all the discussions you need to show your strengths and communicate the same verbally. Verbal communication was important to state things that you cannot do so in writing. Now here, depending on two different situations, you can communicate in writing. The general word limit is 300 words or less for most schools. Did you ever wonder why the word limit is kept at such a small number? You speak less, you don't get much opportunity to share the improvements. Don't you think you lose a little bit of the power in that case? And negotiations is a game of power, which the schools played really well. But if you have not lost that power because you already use verbal communication, that's actually better. So to write the essay, here's the structure. Start with a gratitude statement, because it anchors them to the idea that you feel good about getting into the program. Also, don't waste lines buttering them up. Just a simple thank you will suffice. We don't want the whole like I feel elated extravaganza that you guys are going to do on LinkedIn. It's just a simple thank you note. That's all we are looking for. Not because it is cheesy, but because you lose two things. The first thing is the word count, and the second thing is power. Why power? Showing too much interest will leave them thinking, why would this person need more money when they already want to join the school so desperately? So it is less about perception, more about logic. Then the idea is to start highlighting your leverage very subtly so as to sound confident but not arrogant. How do you do that? The previous slide. You had calls with the people who told you your strengths themselves, handed a free ticket to you. You can state that the AdCom and the current students have acknowledged your attributes to be desirable. Show what contributions you can bring to the program, leadership positions you can take, how can you give them even more if you had the extra money in your pocket. This scholarship is not an expense but an investment in you so you can invest in them. End the essay with a very subtle yet obvious threat. Losing you will cost them more than giving you a higher scholarship. Not in these words, of course. Remember, I told you, you should be ready to lose the admit if you really need things to work. If you have a bigger word limit, then the game changes in your favor. So you will still do what you will do on the left, but in addition to that, you go in depth about how employable you are, reinforce your merit, and use the feedback to eliminate any red flags they saw in your profile. End it the same way. And here we are at the end of the session. A little news for you before we move on to the Q&A live. MBA Times is offering the Hail Mary service for scholarships at a discount. You will have to pay $250 less than our original price of $1,000. So you just have to pay $750. But here's the twist. Another $250 is absolutely negotiable if you have multiple admits, so there is a possibility for the price to vary between $500 to $750. Why am I saying negotiable? Because you might have to convince us a little on this. This twist is only available to the MBA Fair attendees and people who have referred others, obviously. Not to forget, you get more benefits as an affiliate if you refer others. Basically, the service can become free for you if you meet all the requirements. You can use the code on the screen SNAS2025 to avail the offer. We also have bulk discounts and round 2 applications options available for you should you choose to opt for it. The website will have an option to select the number of schools. You can scan this QR code and it will take you to the website. From the services drop-down menu, you can select whatever services you seek. Alternatively, you can visit MBA Times by going to www.mba-times.com/quote to request the quote yourself. And this was the session for the day. So let's talk now, and I'll just see you guys on the WhatsApp chat.